Hello, this is Barry Rosen with Zoom Collaborate. Zoom coaches and trainers help distributed teams and virtual leaders around the world to be more productive and successful. Now, if your job entails helping others manage virtual teams, this executive briefing is meant for you. I'll walk you through a short team assessment that you can use to define the biggest challenges facing the virtual teams you support. This will be a very practical exercise, so have a pen and paper handy and you can jot down your insights. And thanks for joining me today. Let's get together on the same page with a definition. A virtual team is a group of two or more people who work in concert but in different locations to achieve a shared goal. Now, this definition applies to tens of thousands of teams operating around the world today. And most distributed team members have never met each other in person, don't know much about their colleagues' lives, either at work or at home, and by inclination may not even want to, even though having rapport with a virtual colleague is an essential ingredient for any sort of creative collaboration. But right now, I'd like you to think about one distributed team you support. There are a lot of benefits of virtual teams. One is higher productivity, in part because while one person is working on a project for solving a problem, another can be getting a good night's rest. Along with these other benefits, distributed teams have become the new normal in terms of entering new markets, doing research, building products, and servicing accounts. But virtual teams have very high failure rates as well. How often? Well, more than 3/4 of them don't achieve their intended goals. Why is that? Well, they're different than co-located teams. That may seem obvious, but distributed team leaders often don't pay attention to the special needs of virtual team members. Right now, I'm going to ask you to reflect on your virtual team. The research tells us that staying aligned and building rapport and trust, communication and engagement, and working in different cultures and time zones are the major challenge areas of virtual teams. Take a moment, look at those, and see how they relate to your team. And I'm going to be asking you a series of questions across each of these challenge areas. I'd like you to note, just with a check mark, which of them apply to a team or teams that you support. First, in the area of staying aligned, meaning that we're, as team members, working towards the same goal. Are virtual team members on the teams you support unclear about team goals and priorities? Are they part of so many teams that they can't devote enough time to each? Do people lose track of who's responsible for what, or do they simply fall back to managing their own to-do lists? In the area of building rapport and trust, which means beginning to depend on each other. Without face-to-face contact, do virtual team members have difficulty saying what's on their minds or counting on each other to keep commitments? Or do they have difficulty asking for or giving direct feedback? So make a check mark for each of those that apply to the team or teams you support. In the third area, communication and engagement, that has to do with sharing information and involving people, making decisions together. Sometimes or often do virtual team members fail to share relevant information or involve each other in decisions that affect them? Do they have unproductive and tiresome meetings? Do they simply check out? And finally, across cultures and time zones, do team members fail to schedule meetings in a timely fashion or at a time when all players can attend? Do they have difficulty making themselves understood or worry they may say the wrong thing? Well, tally up your scores, and if you answered yes to 4 or more questions, then your team's already navigating the rapids of virtual collaboration. Now, what can you do for your team right away? Well, with some focused attention, you can elevate your team's performance, and we'd like to help you out by talking about some basic practices, the common practice of common sense, and First, start with your team by completing a virtual team and employee assessment. This will be a series of questions, including the ones I've just asked you, that you can use with your team to see what challenges they believe are the highest ones they should be paying attention to. You can click on the yellow box below this screen share and request your copy of the full assessment. Once you've filled out that request, you can choose to download a PDF or use our online form to assess your team or teams. Next, we'll send you a white paper on the best practices for virtual teamwork. We'll give you 5 best practices that will help you be successful both in the results area, in the process area, that's how you go about doing things, and finally in the relationship area, how people build rapport and trust with each other. So thanks for spending a few minutes with me today. We're Zoom Collaborate. I'll leave you with this thought. To make big things happen, you don't have to do it yourself.